Hi, part-time time travelers, Jake here, and welcome to a brand new episode where today we're going to be talking about the highly anticipated cast of Survivor 50, which was just revealed this morning. Now, a little background, if any of you are fans of this channel, you know that I am a huge Survivor nerd, and I love to talk about it any chance I can get on this channel. I even made my friends play Survivor last year for my birthday. I highly recommend it. It's very much an old school game, and all the contestants came to play. Being a fan since I was 12 years old, season 50 is something that I could only dream of watching, and for years we've been speculating on what the theme is going to be and what the cast is going to be. Are they going to stick to all new era folks, or are they going to go back and get some legends to play for one final time? And we kind of got a mixed bag here. Now, the lead up to this season was kind of crazy in terms of leaked casts. I wasn't even looking up any leaks. They were everywhere, no matter where you went on Twitter, Reddit, online. It was basically impossible to avoid what some of the leaks were coming out. Who was saying yes, who was in the mix, who got cut. Even the contestants online have revealed that they got cut from Survivor 50. Some very devastating cuts. I saw that Greg Buis was cut. Of course, Rob Cesternino, my God, got cut right at the last moment. Aussie Penner. Jerry Manthe had the most heartbreaking video I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, someone should put her in a movie. She was always wanting to be an actress. She should have got an Academy Award for that video right there. Phenomenal. One of my favorite things that happened in the preseason was when Amanda Kimmel was allegedly on the cast, and everyone was so excited because no one has heard from her in years. And then it got revealed that she dropped out. And my favorite Twitter video by this user posted this with the caption, "Amanda Kimmel has dropped out of Survivor 50.
Bullshit! She better not have!
Now, there's been a lot of negative reactions to the cast that came out for Survivor 50, which we're going to go through every single person here. Now, I'm a bit more positive on it. I've seen some people calling it worse than Game Changers. There's nothing worse than Game Changers. I can see the fears of this cast being like Game Changers, getting out some of the legends and the lesser-known people going further. But Game Changers had people like Haley Ford. I liked her. She's very pretty and nice. She was basically the first member of the jury in season 30, and she did the exact same thing the next season and never got... No one knows why she's a game changer. But I actually kind of like this cast. There is some surprises in there. There are some people that I wouldn't have casted, but I also have to keep in mind the casting process itself. It's not as cut and dry as just casting 24 legends and they're all saying yes and they're going on. Not only do some people not want to play the game of Survivor anymore, but the casting producers and Jeff are looking for what is going to make good TV and good dynamics with the cast. They pair different people together. What would this person be like with this person? And that factors into the decision. Some people that were good on TV maybe 10 years ago might not have been a right fit on today's TV. You know, they could have bombed the casting interviews. That's something we all have to keep in mind when it comes to casting and why certain people got cut over the others. Without further ado, I'm going to go through every single member, gave my thoughts and reactions on them being casted, and how I think they're frankly going to do in Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. We're going to start all the way back in Survivor Borneo. We are bringing back Jenna Lewis, and honestly, this is my most anticipated cast member. Having someone from season 1 was just a gimme. I was saddened that there was no season 1 representation much past heroes versus villains. That is the season that started it all. That's the season that had millions upon millions of viewers. And it was a totally different show back then. And what I like about the Jenna casting is we did see her one time after Borneo, and that was in Survivor All-Stars, where she very much played like a new era player. Jenna knew that Boston Rob and Amber were inseparable and got her and her other duo, Rupert, to align with them, and knowing that the jury would be pissed off with them at the end, hopefully weasel their way to get into a final 2 chair. If Survivor back then had final 3 chair, Jenna would have annihilated Boston Rob and Amber and would have won the game. It's very new era thinking. She was phenomenal. She really got to show, like, I highly recommend if you want to see Jenna's game, watch All-Stars over Borneo. Although I hope she gets her redemption for her family letters in season 50 if she makes it that far. But I think that an older and wiser Jenna that has the new spirit of the new era is going to be a really fun watch. And potentially, I want to say that she's my winner pick. I don't think she's going to win, but it would just be a perfect bookend to have a season 1 contestant win the game in season 50. I don't want to see her go anytime soon. Then we jump right to season 2 with a controversial pick, Colby Donaldson. Now, Colby's been controversial because he's always played with Jerry, and Jerry is not on this cast. I was one of those that when I started watching Survivor, my parents made me go back in time and watch some of the older seasons, and my parents were huge fans of Colby, so naturally, I was also a fan of Colby. He didn't play that well in All-Stars, but I will go to bat for him for Heroes versus Villains. I thought his story was so funny. He was very cutthroat in the pre-merge, getting out Suri, which he's going to have to face again on this season. And I thought that even though he wasn't his old self, he really came to terms with that, and it's a very beautiful arc in season 20. And I'm sure Colby is a little embarrassed watching back at him yelling at his brother at the Loved Ones challenge or the whole Treasure Island incident. However, I'm satisfied with seeing Colby back. Did I need to see him back? Not necessarily, but when you do think about Survivor, Colby was the first Golden Boy ever, and the Golden Boy audience very much loves him, and I'm very interested to see an older Colby and see how he handles the game. So I am A-okay on the Colby casting. I really wish Jerry was here for Colby. Then we do a pretty reasonable jump all the way to season 10, where we're going to see Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick come back to play. Stephanie is a very interesting person to me because I just watched her season for the first time this year. I was always aware of her legendary status in Palau, but I never owned the season. I have it sitting here somewhere, season 10. Season 10's down here. But for the first time this year, I really got to see what she went through in Palau, and man, was that an inspiring story. She is badass. She came back in season 11, maybe flew a little too close to the sun in season 11, but I know that her legacy just kind of ended in Heroes versus Villains when she was the second one to go, especially after a horrifying injury. Stephanie has played other shows, including The Traitors and Snake in the Grass, and I can see that she's really enthusiastic about wanting to play the game again. Stephanie is in the conversation of when people think of Survivor, they think of blank. And I think it's a really inspired choice. I'm happy to see Stephanie back again. And I really hope she does do a deep run in this season. I think that would be really fun for the old school representation to have Stephanie do very well. I would prefer a few different people win over Stephanie, but it's a very fun pick here. Then we move on to Suri. She's going to be the second player ever after Boston Rob to play 5 times. She's recently won the Traitors and almost won Big Brother. We've been kind of in a Suri renaissance lately, especially with her alleged appearance. I didn't hear it from me, but her alleged appearance on Australia versus the World Survivor. Suri is everywhere. Now, is it too much is my question. Well, for the Suri fans, this is a no-brainer, and I think when you're doing Survivor 50, you have to bring back Suri. That is an absolute no-brainer. I'm really interested to see if she does anything different with her game because, and it might have just been the edit, but I was a little underwhelmed in Game Changers. She did make it all the way to the final 6 and got absolutely twist-screwed, which she did not deserve, and I think she could have been in line to win the game, but because of her shortcoming with that advantage get-in round, I don't think she was edited in a way to show that she was the mastermind and that she was going to beat Sarah in the end. She was kind of just floating on legend status alone. I think with 50 here, she's going to be against enough legends that she's going to have to show some chops, and I'm really excited to see that in Suri. The only thing that has me hesitating about Suri on this season is that it feels like only 2 things can happen. One, she's going to get voted off and screwed because of her legend status, which sucks. The second option is if she gets to the end, she wins. No brainer. Which you're going to kind of look back at season 50 in retrospective and be like, well, Suri, like how'd they let Suri get to the end? And that wouldn't really feel earned. It would almost feel like they're giving her the win. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, and that's why I'm hoping that I see a lot from Cirie this season. Now we go over to the Cook Islands where we see Aussie. I really wish this was Penner, but I am an Aussie fan. Aussie was fun to watch in all of his seasons that he played, except Game Changers, where I actually predicted episode 1. They'll get to the merge and he'll be the first member of the jury. And I was absolutely right. I'm a little nervous for that here happening again, but he is 41 years old, and I can really see him going through an arc. Like, I could just picture it. He'll be talking to the cameras, and something will happen, and he'll be like, I'm not as young as I used to be, and he'll go through the arc of discovering himself again. I really hope we get that Aussie story. Aussie's also playing for the 5th time. Did we need to see Aussie again? There's a few people I would put over Aussie, but again, when you think of Survivor, people always talk about Aussie, so I am completely fine with him being here. Personally, if I had to replace Aussie, I would have put Malcolm in his spot, or maybe Rob Sesternino, but I'm not in charge of these things. So Aussie should be fun again, especially if they put him on an opposite tribe of Jonathan. We're going to get a really big battle, but we will see what happens. Moving right along, we have Coach from Season 18 Survivor Token Sheets. Coach is a really weird pick to me. He's done some weird social media posts the last few years. He doesn't seem like someone that they would cast in the new era, and that was what I was thinking they were going to do the whole time, was if they were going to get people pre-Season 40, it would have been people that would have been casted in the new era style casting, and Coach completely doesn't fit that mold at all, but it makes it really interesting. We're going to see Coach interact with the new era contestants. It's going to be really fascinating, and I really want to see if Coach has learned anything from his run in South Pacific, which he almost won, but had many fatal flaws to his game. I feel like his personality is unavoidable. We're seeing an older Coach. I personally wouldn't have put Coach on this cast, but I think that the possibilities of some of the television we're going to get is going to be very funny and very interesting. Now we're moving on to a pick that I wasn't so sure about. We have Aubrey coming back from Co Wrong. And the only reason I say that is when Survivor Co Wrong premiered, I was a big Aubrey fan. Now, I wasn't involved as much in the Survivor community online. I'd almost go to say that I called myself a casual because I was just going off of what I saw, what the editors wanted me to see. And for that, I was in love with Aubrey and hated Michelle, which is totally flipped now. I rewatched Co Wrong recently, and I totally see why Michelle won. And I absolutely love her win over Aubrey there. I still liked Aubrey, but you saw her come back for Game Changers, which she made it all the way to 5th place, and we never saw her that whole damn season. And then she came back for Edge of Extinction, which I think she rubbed a lot of people the wrong way when she got voted off, and then did overdramatic jury reactions to different things. And that was the last we saw of Aubrey, where we've seen her already return twice, and I haven't been too impressed with the results of Aubrey returning twice. So I personally would not have casted her here and would have went for another player, even maybe Michelle. I'm optimistic that Aubrey's going to give us something a little different. That is what I'm hoping for her run this season. Season 35's Chrissy. Chrissy is actually one of my winner picks, kind of looking at the threat level of everyone. She's kind of middling there. She's in the 30s. A lot of the people from the 30s never got a chance to play again. And Chrissy has a lot to prove. I remember when I initially watched 30, I didn't want Ben to win, but I also kind of didn't want Chrissy to win. I was a big Devin fan. Chrissy, I found, always complained when the one-timer group wasn't in power. She got mad. And I remember that really rubbed me the wrong way, but now I kind of look at it as she was very passionate about her own game and really wanted to see it through. And for being the first season of Forced Fire Making, she was really kind of screwed by not knowing that that was going to happen there. So I think Chrissy, I didn't expect Probst or the casting crew to even consider her, and to see her here is kind of neat. Good representation for the 30 seasons of Survivor. I could see Chrissy doing a deep run here. I'm not sure how it's going to go for her, but I'm excited to see it. Next, we get to the run of players from David versus Goliath. So we start with Christian Hubicki, who, when I watched it, I was in college. I remember watching it every single week in my dorm room, and it was to the point where I liked Christian so much that I got heart palpitations every tribal that he was involved in. I did not want him to go home. Hello, good morning. Christian, he's just one of my all-time favorite players, like instantly. It was just one of those instant connections, and I always wanted to see him return. I love his appearances on Rob Has a Podcast. He's just an iconic player, and I was really sad to read that he wasn't considering returning a few years ago because of his schedule, but now he's on the Survivor 50 cast. I am just ready for my heart to get broken again when he gets voted out. But Christian is one of my favorite picks of this season. I am so excited to see Christian. And that goes for the other two David versus Goliath players. Angelina, I remember, I was just starting to get into the Survivor community around the time of David versus Goliath, like the online community. So I didn't know whether to like or dislike Angelina because the edit had me thinking, like, this girl is total crackpot gone. I don't want her to win. But I was also at that point really appreciating villains and having people to root against. And honestly, she is iconic. From the ladder to the wine, the jacket, everything about Angelina is awesome. I've been following her on Instagram for years. She is very cheeky with her posts. She's just a very great pick for season 50 and someone that we still talk to today about the rice negotiations. If you're in the conversation of Survivor, you've done something very right, and that's what Angelina has done. So very excited to see Angelina back. And of course, they secured Mike White, creator of the White Lotus, to come back and play the game. Ned Schliebe, all the way from School of Rock. Amazing race. That's how I first knew about Mike. Him and his dad ran the race twice, actually. Those are very interesting seasons. But it was kind of like everyone knew that Mike was a one-time Survivor thing. He didn't try in the final three, and he really could have won the game if he did try. I remember when there was a rumor that he snuck a doobie to the island, and that's like they refilmed Nick's win because he had to be disqualified. That wasn't true. That was just wild Survivor rumors back then. And everyone was kind of like, after he made White Lotus and won all those awards, that he was completely out of the question. So I'm very pleased to see him here. Apparently, he was texting Probst, being like, if there was ever a returning season, I want in. And he said that all the way to when they were casting season 50. So Mike's either going to go early or he's going to go all the way to the end because the contestants won on the new season of The White Lotus. So we will see what happens. I'm happy to see Mike here. That is a very legendary pick in this cast. Season 38, Rick Devens. A lot of people, especially the Twitter people, do not like this pick. I like Rick. Yeah, he did get voted out like 5th or 6th and then came back. But his time on TV was very entertaining, and he played with the cards that he was dealt with. He lost that fire making from Chris putting himself in there. Rick is a good personality. He's Jeff Probst's favorite child. We all know this. But I think seeing him play in the new era is going to be really interesting. And I like Rick as a pick here. I think it was inevitable for him to come back. So to have him on 50 just feels like, if you don't like him, let's get it over with. If you do like him, it's the right season for him to be on. Would he have been my first casting choice? No. But Devon's playing again, I think is going to be really fun. So now we're getting to the new era contestants, starting with Jonathan. Listen, I know a lot of people on the Twitter streets don't like Jonathan. And this is where it comes to casting for everybody, for all the fans. You have to have the Facebook mom representation. What I mean by that is that this show is watched by a lot of casual viewers, a lot of people that don't know much about the inner games of the survivors. There's people that like Jonathan. And frankly, I like Jonathan, not strategy-wise, but personality-wise, he's pretty fun on the game. Again, I wouldn't have immediately chosen him to come back. I think there's a lot of interesting characters that didn't get casted from season 41 to 44 that I would put over Jonathan. But Jonathan was a really... I think it was, again, inevitable. He's Probst's favorite child, Boston Rob's best friend, that Jonathan was going to get casted again. And I think you got to please those Facebook moms. You got to please the casuals. You got to please everybody that likes him. You got to please that audience. You can't have just people that are total game bot picks. This is in the hands of the fans. And the thing is, there's many different kinds of fans. So I think Jonathan is a no-brainer pick for 50. As I said, I don't think I would have chosen him, but it feels right that he's on this cast. Going to another contestant I very much compared to Christian Hubicki is Emily Flippin, financial analyst. Emily was one of those that maybe I didn't like very off the first episode, but there was just something about her that every episode, I did not want her to go home. I wanted the best for her. She absolutely rocked. She made me laugh. And I was devastated to read. I remember being really sad that she wasn't planning on ever coming back to play the game again because she thought her story was told, and now she's on the list. So to see Emily back, and I can't wait to see her interact with people like Coach. What are they going to talk about, you know? It's a very great pick. I hope she doesn't go early. That's all I really have to say about Emily. She was absolutely on many of my lists, thinking in my head of who I wanted to play 50. So to see Emily back, I am extremely excited. Go to the season 45 winner D. Again, not an initial pick for me. I think D played great. I'm really interested to see her playing out in the open with everyone knowing what she did on her season to win, making the Reba 4. She doesn't have any of the Reba 4 around her. I think she has potential to be an early boot, but she has the chops to make it through. I always like returning seasons that have winners. This is a bit of an unpopular opinion, like not just winners at war, but returning seasons that have winners, because I like to see how far the winner can make it before they're inevitably voted out. Like it fascinates me in Survivor All-Stars how far Ethan made it, even though he never made the jury. Like that's really cool to me, and her win is pretty fresh. So I'm excited to see D, even if she wasn't on my Survivor 50 list. Season 46, we have Tiffany, which I think for many people, including myself, is the biggest WTF pick of the season, because she's kind of like almost that. She's better than Haley Ford, but she's kind of in that realm of not a huge impact when you initially watched it. When you're thinking of legends, Tiffany doesn't come up. And when you think of good players that deserve another chance, Tiffany comes up. And I think that's why she's casted. Also, we're going to get into Q's coming up next, why Q was casted. But to see them together, I think Tiffany is an inspired pick. I think it's going to be really interesting seeing her navigate the game. I think she has a very good shot of making it to the end. I just think that it's a very random pick for a lot of people. But what's a Survivor returning season without a couple random picks? So we'll see how Tiffany does. What do you have to say about Tiffany? Am I wrong? Oh, okay. This is Ace, by the way. What do you have to say? Do you have to say anything? So that is Tiffany, and of course we get right into Q. Q is one of those just legendary villains you root against. A lot of people, I think, especially on Facebook, are commenting, why are you bringing Q back? Q is awful. Here's the thing, people. You need those people in Survivor. You need fire TV. You need good TV. You need people to root against. I personally love Q. I thought he was absolutely hilarious, and he's a very welcome addition to the Legends cast. When he played, I was like, oh, he's playing on 50. I was right. So I think you need him, and I think you need to see him be on a beach with Jenna Lewis. Like, that is such a random pairing that only is going to be possible through Survivor 50. So I am very welcome to Q's return here on this season. Charlie, from the same season, season 46. Charlie, a lot of people still debate to this day whether he should have won over Kenzie. I personally think Kenzie deserved the win because she got the jury votes. I think Charlie has a really good chance of winning. He's going to be very game body. He's going to already be pre-gaming with a lot of these legends. He's going to work with the new era people and make the old era feel secure. The only thing about Charlie is, can his personality compete with the rest of these contestants? That's what I don't know. So we're going to have to see that when it airs next year. Genevieve from Survivor 47 is an awesome pick. I love Genevieve. I hated how she got virtually no confessionals the first 3 episodes. Her game really came out and she had a story in her season. And I really thought there was a few characters that would get the 50 call over here. But when I heard that Genevieve was in, it was like, that is awesome. As a representation for season 47, what a pick. Like, I thought that maybe Rachel would come back, maybe Sam would come back. Andy seemed like a shoo-in for a while for season 50, but to have Genevieve is just, it's a little nod that I think they do pay attention to some of the players that we do love, even if they're not in the forefront of the game. It kind of gives also a peek behind the curtain on who production really liked while the season was filming. I can see them just loving Genevieve. So to have her on 50 is absolutely welcome. And she, she's the first new era player that gets compared to Parvati, Amanda Kimmel, all those amazing women, and didn't go home right away. I think, without a Parvati or an Amanda this season, Genevieve is going to fill that gap, and she might do some damage with it. Then we get to the Season 48, it's kind of wild to me that they did 3 members of Season 48. Now, people also have to remember that most returning seasons have representation from the last aired seasons, and that's just a TV tactic. A lot of people that are watching, that are just tuning in for the first time, want to see people that were just on the show. There's also 2 players from Season 49, which we haven't even met yet, so 5 people out of the 24 people are brand spanking new. For me, that doesn't really represent the history of Survivor and what Season 50 stands for, but I totally understand it from a casting and a TV standpoint. But we're starting right off with Camilla. Camilla was a very fun watch, and her counterpart duo Kyle is playing as well. Camilla, I think they'll probably separate them. It'll be interesting seeing her play a different game. The whole season, everyone says, I wish Camilla got a different season. Let's see who rise to the challenge. She was not my pick for Season 50. I would have put her on a New Era All-Stars before I would have put her on Season 50, but she's here, so let's see how she does. Said we have Kyle, just one, brand spanking new winner entering the game. I really want to see if Kyle has any suave to at least make it past 1 tribal council. I highly doubt it, but it's a new era and anything can happen. I thought Kyle was a great winner to a very, very mediocre season. Then we have Joe, another pick for the Facebook moms. I do like Joe. I think he's a good person. I do not like how he played the game. I think loyal and integrity has its place. I respect Joe for playing that. You can play Survivor however you want. But that kind of mentality that he built is the reason why he only got 1 vote in the end. And we're going to see him play without Eva, which is going to be really interesting. Anybody from 48, it's kind of interesting to see them play because no one's going to play like 48. And 48's the last season everyone watched before they flew out. So I'm simultaneously worried to see these 3 again. I think, there's even a potential that Survivor 50 ends with a Survivor 48 or 49 winner, which would kind of suck. But it's also interesting seeing them thrown in a Legends season. And then we have the 2 players that we are unknown from Season 49. I know who they are. I didn't say that. I didn't think this was needed. Season 40 didn't have Tommy from Season 39. And to have Season 49, which nobody watched, it's going to be really hard to judge these players. It's either going to be screwed right out of the gate, or they're going to just run the game. And I don't want to see a Season 49 person run the game. It's also a humongous risk. What if these 2 players are not well liked by the audience, even if the editors and the producers did what they can to make them seem like Season 50 caliber right before the season aired? What if we just don't like them? Jeff Probst said at the Season 48 final that Mitch has a huge fan base, and even though I like Mitch, he does not have a huge fan base, and I wouldn't call myself the #1 Mitch fan. So I'm just really worried about this risky call. I think you could have cut those 2, replaced them with Sean Rector, Vesipia Towery, anybody that I mentioned before, or you could have just let it be 22 people. We know they're not moving from 26 days. They're going to keep it at 26 days. So we have 24 people, which means we're probably going to be a lot of double tribals where we're going to lose a lot of the legends we like, and people like the Season 49 contestants are going to survive it. And it's very worrisome because I want 50 to be good. And I think we have a cast to make 50 good. I mentioned that I'm not overly upset at this cast. You just saw the video. I actually said I'm excited for most of them. I think this is going to be a good season, but I just don't want it to run into the Game Changers problem, which we don't talk about Game Changers, but I want to talk about 50, which is why I'm making this video a whole year in advance. But that's pretty much everything. I just want to remind you all, do your prayer circles now for these contestants. They're just flying out to film, so nothing's happened yet. You can't do your prayer circle in a year when it's already been filmed. So pray for your favorite. I'm personally praying for Jenna Lewis, that she's going to be doing well. I'm going to light a candle for her tonight. But what do you think of the Season 50 cast? I want to hear your comments. I want to know who your winner picks are, who you think is going to do well, who is a pick that surprised you that you wouldn't have picked in 50, but you think is going to be really well. And for a really fun game, I want you to comment who you think is going to be the final 3 so you can say called it in a year. For me, I personally think the final 3 is going to be Charlie, Chrissy, and Tiffany. Charlie, Chrissy, Tiffany. Who wins? I think Chrissy upsets Charlie. That's my prediction. That's just pulling it out. Maybe I'm psychic. Wouldn't that be crazy? That is my prediction for Survivor 50. If you like what you see, I am a growing YouTube channel. I'm at 435 subscribers. My goal is to get to 500, so please subscribe. I do more than just Survivor content. I do film reviews. I talk about nostalgic things, especially with the show that I'm doing right now, which Survivor is very nostalgic for me, going across all 50 seasons. And of course, please check out Survivor Beeman. It was a passion project of mine. I am so pleased with it. And if you're not satisfied with the Survivor 50 cast, you're going to be very satisfied with the Survivor Beeman Season 1 cast. Link is below. I'm going to put an end card that has Survivor Beeman Season 1 playlist. Watch it, comment, subscribe. We're doing Season 2. We're going to film it in September, so we're really excited for that. But my name is Jake. Thank you for time traveling with me. Thank you for food and friends, and we will see you in the next video.